Hello.
Hello.
Do we need to do anything to that thingy?
I don't think
We
so.
should be live. Let's
There
see.
it is.
There we are.
All right. Welcome to Mom Talk.
Are you sure we don't have to change the black thing? Yeah, we have to do this. Main camera.
There we go.
Right?
There's
It will cut. It
There's a delay.
Hey,
Hey, and welcome to
y'all.
Mom Talk.
we are here.
Season 2, episode 1.
Yes, and we are enjoying the lives.
Yeah, we have decided we're going to do this for a little while anyways.
Mhm. It's nice to have the interaction, and it's nice to not have the added editing and
Yep.
stuff like that after. So I would like to find a way to still do videos and TikToks and stuff like that.
Yes.
So, but we are not
Right.
this week.
Gonna
Not
keep
this
working.
week.
We're
So,
learning all the time. What are you
yes.
drinking?
Neo Citron. Cheers.
I feel like that was like our first couple.
Yeah, the first couple.
episodes.
Yeah, you were drinking Neo Citron,
and
and I am. Yeah.
I've got decaf, Earl Grey tea, but I didn't let the kettle boil all the way. It was kind of already hot, so I just like
From
made
me.
it with like the warm water.
Yep.
So it's like kind of cold now.
I
That's okay.
definitely could use
good.
a top up because it was a while ago. So if I have to producer Neo Citron, we'll have to see how that goes. But
Anyways,
so if you're here, can you say hi to us so that we know you are here and chatting? Yeah, it's been a big day. So yes,
it has been,
but we
a
are
big day.
here, and it's been a big week. Started last week.
First week of school
Yeah.
for us, and things went okay in my class. I think I've got like 8 to 10-year-olds, so that's kind of cool. They're
And how
pretty
many do you have?
independent. I have 15 students,
Okay.
so it's big for our school, but
Hi, Carly.
small for the general
Yes.
population.
Yeah.
But it was it's been good, and we start our regular rotations tomorrow, so
We do.
I've
Yeah.
gotta get-
This week is rotation week. I have to remember that.
it doesn't
Yeah.
really affect you too much.
No, just the reading buddies and library. And it's good. It doesn't affect me like you guys, but just I want to. Thanks, we're winning.
And we have a lurker.
We
It's
have a
wonderful.
lurker.
Which sounds weird.
It does.
Anyways, yeah, and you
Remember when that used to be inappropriate to lurk at
to lurk
somebody?
at somebody?
And now it's like a thing.
now we're celebrating it.
Yeah.
So you have preschoolers. So
I do.
Lots of tears.
There was the first day, so I have 8, so it's a full class for that age group, and really awesome kids. I'm looking forward to seeing their potential. Tuesday, I felt really bad for them, and then of course that mentally that's hard because you're trying to comfort, and these kids some of them haven't been exposed to anything. It's no daycare or anything like that. Some of them have, but that's tricky to go with a stranger or somebody you barely know
Yeah.
for 6 hours and not knowing is mom and dad coming back, all of those kind of things. And then it gets even the kids who have been used to daycares and stuff nervous or kind of worked up. So that was tricky. The afternoon was better than the morning. I was happy that the first day I was able to get 5 out of 7 of the kids to nap and rest, so that was nice.
Yeah.
And then Thursday was much better, which is really exciting. I know it will be a month of trickiness and working through those big emotions and stuff like that. But yeah, Thursday was much better. Tears were gone by about 10 to 10. It starts at 9, and that's fairly good. And they were
Yeah.
off and on tears, not
Constant,
not
no.
consistently there. But we were able to go over a lot of stuff. So Tuesday was hard because there was so many emotions, we weren't able to talk about how to make a line or talk about where we put our stuff and that kind of thing. So that kind of gets shoved aside so that you can
Just make them
work
feel
through
safe.
the big emotions and that they're okay and I'm here and that kind of thing. So Tuesday was a lot of like corralling them places. We went to the washroom a lot. We ate snack and lunch multiple times during the day. Yeah, and we got in a few things here and there. It was funny. So on the Thursday, a mom picked up her son and she's like, so people know on here, like I like to talk about emotions and how you're feeling and that kind of thing. And part of, as a child and youth worker, we know that giving labels to those feelings inside can be helpful for self-advocating and communicating. So my hope is the first month at least, maybe even the second, to talk about for emotional regulation, to talk about feelings and big feelings and small feelings and how you can have multiple feelings, and then speaking what you need when you have those feelings.
Yeah.
So someone was to see on Thursday,
And I like
and we
mugs.
cannot wait until she returns. She is very, very, very sweet.
And Carly likes the mugs.
Yay! So, anyways, Mom picked up her son and said, "So, did you talk about being nervous?" And I was like, "We did. We talked about big emotions and feeling scared and nervous and excited as well." And she was like, "Well, he came home and was nervous to eat his supper." And I said, "You're not nervous to eat your supper. Eat it." But I was like, we're still working on what that means. But it was really nice, though, on Thursday, we were really able to connect that even more. So we're reading Hungry Hippo's Angry Duck. I love that book.
Yes.
And
Sandra Boynton.
yes, and it's so good for when you are telling it to have those facial expressions so that we can get used to it. And we talked about, because there was that same actually boy, he was tired in the morning and he was emotional on Thursday and he wasn't on Tuesday. And we talked about how that can be challenging and how by the time we were reading the book, he was feeling better. And he said, yeah, I was feeling tired and I cried when I was tired. And I do that too sometimes. And so it was really good conversation between the kids, but I can only understand, like, the parents are probably like, great.
New words.
All of these things.
So Scott says we should put the mugs on the store. So if you don't know, we are a subsidiary of A Born Again Gamer. He produces our show, and he also
buys us curtains.
And
lots of curtains.
He streams live on Twitch Mondays,
Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
and sometimes Fridays when we have date night. And he has a store with his merchandise, and we've been talking about putting some of our merchandise up on that store. So
which it includes mugs.
When we get the our stuff up, I'm sure that Scott will post the link when it's appropriate.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah. So
it was a lot, but I'm excited. Like the kids are good kids, and even though we were missing one of our friends, I'm excited for them to get into routine and
you've got good parents already. You've had a few parents affirm you.
Yeah, which was nice, and
And I had a lovely email sent to me on the weekend from a parent that was just such an encouraging word to me, and it was really nice to have that positive feedback when you're like,
because aren't we all like a ball of insecurities and emotions and like second guessing ourselves and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's always helpful to encourage.
Yes, I agree.
So, yeah,
cool.
That's really good. Now, we were talking about COVID. It's still kind of there sometimes. And before school, what was your story? Do you remember? You had a sore throat?
Oh, yeah, like just before.
Yeah.
That is so funny that I just like drew a complete blank.
That's okay.
So like, because
we talked about it a whole like 10 minutes ago.
Well, and in my brain, like, school has been going on for a while, but it really hasn't. It's only been a week. So the week before school, the week and a bit before school, I started getting like a little bit of a sore throat. Now, I moved the fan in our room, And oftentimes in season changes, when I put the fan up, I can feel like my throat gets a little
Yeah.
scratchy from the fan blowing on my face or
Yeah.
whatever. So I kind of just assumed that that's what was going on. But then it just wouldn't go away, and then it started getting worse and worse. And then at some point, it hurt to swallow. Like I was wincing to swallow. I wasn't eating a whole lot, just like a lot of coffee because I was like, it hurt to swallow
Yeah.
so much, and a lot of Advil. And finally, after like the second straight day of it being that sore, I was like, I probably have strep throat. I should probably go to the hospital because you're gonna need antibiotics to get over that. So I went to Emerge and sat there for 5 hours, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And the doctor was like, I don't think you have strep. She did swab me, and I never heard a positive result, so
Yeah.
I guess I didn't have strep. But she was like, I think you have COVID. And I looked at her and I was like, are you sure? Because I literally have one symptom, and that's my throat hurts. Like, not extreme tiredness, like nothing else, just a sore throat. And she's like, no, I think that it was COVID. So I did go home from the hospital, and I tested at the home test, but it came back negative. I know that could mean nothing, but it was just very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And she was so nonchalant about it. She was just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't think you have strep. Probably just have COVID.
just COVID.
COVID.
Like it's something that we're living with. But I also am like, I feel like before it was if you didn't have strep or you didn't have something, whatever, you had a virus.
Yeah, they would just say, oh,
you have a virus. Let it run its course. That kind of thing. So it's interesting to me now that it feels
The
like
word
we've
virus
replaced replaced virus with COVID.
Yeah, interesting.
Because certain things do have to kind of run its course
And it really,
that
and
kind of
I
things.
counted it back. It literally was 10 days of a sore throat. And then I woke up the next day, which was the day before school.
yeah,
And I was like, good as gold. It was
Interesting.
crazy because we were really nervous. Am I going to need a supply the first day
Yeah.
of school? And I had been working and setting up my class. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't.
you were
stopping
tired
me.
a little bit, but that's also setting up your class and all
And
that
we were
stuff.
painting and late nights and things. and-
Hey, Scott,
She's ready for a refill.
please.
Yeah. So anyways, it is really interesting to see like what the future holds for sicknesses, and we know that Ontario just recently released that you're no longer mandated to
Right.
isolate,
Yeah.
and masks are recommended after you are sick, but are
Yeah.
not required. And
Yeah.
I just find it kind of interesting because I think like it certainly feels like a step towards
Getting back to normal,
to that
or
normal
like,
feeling. Yeah.
and it's the aspect of as well as building your immune system, right? So like, which I think is tricky because I've always had a low-ish immune system, and so I'm thinking with all these little ones around me, and that kind of thing. It'll be interesting season in winter.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we do have to build our immune system back up, right? Like,
Well, and I know, and
it's been
I think I may have said this on Mom Talk before, but I know I've said it to many people. Like when I started Teachers College, they were very adamant. If you're not taking multivitamins, start now and boost your immune
I
system
should start
now.
taking my DK
Yeah.
again. I haven't been taking
Because
that.
they said you will get sick within the
Yeah.
first 3 months of going
Yeah.
back to school with all these kids.
Yeah, it happens for sure. So you and I don't even know how this began. Brian and I came over yesterday. No, we saw you at the church yesterday.
Yes, so I was working at the classroom.
And then you and Brian went to Walmart,
well, okay.
and they have been on a 2-day adventure.
Yeah, so
A rabbit hole of 2 days that just came back.
it is crazy, and like just goes to show you the power of like advertising, because I was working in my classroom and I took a quick break on Facebook, and the local Walmart had made their own little video, and they posted it on Facebook of all the trampolines that they were putting on clearance. And so they showed the trampoline pile and the prices, and I went, those are really cheap prices. I want a trampoline. So I like marched downstairs.
But you also were wanting to get one at the beginning of the season.
Yes.
And you didn't.
No, we weren't able to at the beginning of the season.
So, yeah.
So, sorry, I just
That's okay.
bothering my teeth.
So you marched down the stairs because Brian was helping me.
And I was like, can I borrow your husband? Because I didn't have a vehicle. And I was like, can you take me to Walmart? So he took me to Walmart and we bought an 8-foot trampoline.
I think it would have been fine. But it's okay.
I don't know. But we brought it back and it said one person only on the trampoline. And I was like, I don't know.
It's true.
And it, like you said, it may have been okay. But
Your kids are also getting bigger, so it's
that's
probably
what I was thinking. I was trying to think
probably nice for
forward.
Yeah.
Anyways, as you can guess from this little bit of conversation there, I went to open it up and I was like, yeah, I don't know that the 8-foot is going to work for us. We should take it back and get the 12-foot. So we did. We went back and got the 12-foot trampoline, and it's taken us 2 days to assemble it. We worked really hard, Brian and I,
Probably
yesterday.
a full day, but you didn't start assembling it till yesterday at like 3. No, even later maybe. Was it 3:30?
It may have been later. I don't remember
And
now.
then yeah, so I feel like it would have probably taken a day or at least till
And we made a
late
few
afternoon.
mistakes and had to like fix them and stuff and figure out what we were doing. But yeah, when we worked right until
Till it was dark.
It was dark, and we were going to try and see if we could push through, but then circumstances just didn't work out,
Yeah.
and so we quit. And then this afternoon we started again, and we finished it, and then
Before
let the kids
it like got really dark and rain. Like it didn't rain, but spit.
Well, and
rain stuff.
so the kids loved it. Your kids were here. Our kids, they jumped on it. They jumped on it in the spitting rain. It didn't matter to
Yes.
them,
Yeah.
and it was
Shalana said
really
she
good.
loved her trampoline growing up. She spent
Right?
hours on it every day.
yeah.
So that's really
So that's
good.
That is encouraging that I made a wise choice because I think it'll be good for the kids to get lots of energy out, and they're always on technology, and
Yeah.
technology is great, and I love it, and I love that they're really good at it, but they really need to get outside and get fresh air
And you were saying that Jack went to a party or something, and that's all he did was jump on the trampoline.
yeah, they
right?
had like games and activities and stuff, and he spent the entire like
Yeah.
2-3 hours on their trampoline. It was crazy.
Scott, if you're still listening, can you make the Neo Citron not too hot? Yeah, but I'm curious if there's other things where I definitely have done this, where you're like, you have something that you want, you put it off, and maybe you get it, or you like within minutes are like, I want this, and then you get it, and then you're like, wow, this was a bigger deal than I was thinking or took longer to do.
That's
or
the story of my life. I have ADHD.
Be careful of windstorms. Ours slipped over during the big one in
Ooh.
March, and it still flipped over in our yard. Yes,
Brian
upside
found
down smiley
some,
face.
like
Pegs?
trampoline peg things.
Oh, good. Did you get them?
No, but I'll get him to send me the link. I was nervous because I didn't know if we need to. We literally have 12 feet between our garden box and our shed, so I didn't know if we were going to need to be able to.
and do you
move
need to
it?
move it?
It'll be up to my husband. But the pegs that he showed me looked like you could remove them if you needed to.
Right. Yeah. She said, "Oh, that's true. Ours ended up in the rear window of our car."
Oh my goodness.
Melissa says we have a massive rectangle one in our backyard, and our girls are on it every day.
yeah.
Do you use pegs, Melissa? I wonder if you use pegs. And the other thing that somebody recommended that you should take the black part off,
Yes, the actual
the
trampoline part.
off in the wintertime, because it can get worn out or torn, or the springs can just like pop like crazy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Look at that.
Yeah, and I want to take the safety netting down too, because I just like with the wind and stuff like that.
Well, and the aging, like the pool
Yeah.
needles and stuff for the safety and stuff. So.
Yeah. So-
Safety nets.
But I'm excited. I'm really hoping that like it lasts longer than the excitement of like 5 minutes. That's
I
the
think
hope.
it will. I think it will. It's good. So speaking of which, when you guys were busy putting everything together for the trampoline, our girls decided to go on their own little.
They asked if they could go for a little bike ride, and we let the kids have a little bit of freedom in terms of going for walks in our, like we live.
Our older daughter, like our
Yeah,
daughters.
the oldest, and so they want to go for a little bike ride. So we had said yes, and Yeah,
And they've done that before, and they're reasonable, or like we'll say, okay, you can go for 10 minutes, and they'll take a watch or something and come back and check in. Yeah, but this time was, excuse me, this time was a little bit different. So you said they could go on a bike ride, and then we didn't hear from them. And I went in the vehicle to go somewhere else. And I pull up to our house to grab some stuff. And the girls' bikes are outside of our house. And I was like, wait a second. So I go in and I'm like, hello. And they're upstairs. They have the bunnies out of their cage. And I was like, that's not okay. You guys had said you were going for a bike ride. You are not to just go to the other house and like hang out. And they had been there for a bit, like a bit, probably 10 minutes.
enough that they got into a few things that they should not, like,
yes.
They didn't have permission to be there. And I don't know, it's interesting. We're like, I feel like we're starting to enter this stage where the girls think that they're older than they are. And because I had said to Renee, like, you can't go into someone else's house without supervision and permission. And she said, yeah, but Cadence was there. And I was like, Cadence isn't even responsible for herself. Like, her parents are responsible for her. No parents, no enter.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. So that was a bit of an interesting thing that happened that we had to work through and process.
So what did she say?
Melissa said, so it's so big, pegs won't work. We have massive water barrels strapped around the legs.
Wow.
Interesting.
And Carly says, oh, smart. Interesting.
I don't think you'd have room for that.
No.
So
I think
you may have to, the pegs should work,
I
though.
think the pegs will work, yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Anyways,
well,
yeah.
there you go.
So, yeah, we're looking forward to a new, like, season with the girls and trying to keep them. I want to keep them children for as long as possible. I want them to be able to feel free to be immature in a good way, right? And
Innocent.
Yes, that's the right word. Playing
But then also giving them some responsibilities and like little things here and
trying
there.
to teach them that they still have to stay within the lines, right? Like,
so it's a tricky balance. As kids get older, the more disconnected they are from you, right? And to
I know.
teach
Even I
them
was
to make
watching a
good
video,
choices.
like, memory of the kids singing and like the innocence that exuded from
Yep.
Renee. I was like, she's
Yep.
so not the same person she was when she was in senior kindergarten. Like, this is
Mhm.
crazy. Like, wow. It's just, anyways,
Yep.
it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So, and then the other thing that has happened today, good news but hard sometimes, is that my grandma passed away. And she is now with Jesus. And she was very, very, very ready to go.
Yeah.
Right up until the end, she was firm on decisions and was making her mind up as she wished. And I accredit some of my stubborn determination from her. So it's been an interesting day of emotions. This has been since the end of June. She's been palliative, and so we have known it's coming, but it still always is like, oh. But I did get to go over today to see her,
Which is great.
before she passed on, and was able to thank her for being my grandma and for teaching me to pray, and for caring for us, and knowing that our family of believers would not be where we are if it wasn't for her making that choice. To believe. And it's been interesting. And then to tell our kids, so actually Cadence yesterday had made a little card and gift thing for my grandma, and so my mom took it over to her, and it was like close to like nearing the end, and So she looked at that and really enjoyed that, and kind of then was in and out after that point. So,
But it was really interesting as a mom, right? Because the kids were over here jumping on the trampoline, and you kind of looked at me at one point and said, "I don't know how and when I'm supposed to tell my kids," and like processing, okay, like we're not doing.
I'm not
it
doing
here.
it here, and yeah, for sure. So I had to go out to my mom and dad's for a little bit, and then we went back to the house, and then I did tell them, and they were aware that grandma wasn't well and that she was going to be meeting Jesus soon.
Yep.
And they did okay. I think Cadence did have about a bit of an outburst afterwards. And I think it was tied to it a bit, but also just what she was focused on.
Yep.
But I think in the days to come of the like funeral and stuff, I think that will bring out more emotions in Turkey. And
Have your kids been to a funeral before?
they have not. But I feel like,
It's close enough to a church service, though. I feel like they'll.
and if they're going to go to a funeral, I want them to go to a funeral that is focused on Jesus and the fact that she is in heaven, and that this is a time to celebrate that and to hear that message. So,
Yeah.
as tricky as it is, yeah, I don't know. Have your kids have not been to a funeral?
Oh, they've
have they?
been to like
Oh, they
a
have.
bazillion funerals.
Oh, okay.
yes.
Okay.
Because well, my mother-in-law comes from a very large family, and so with a very large family, you'll have lots of people who pass away at some point, and she watched the kids she watched the kids while I worked all the time, and so yeah, they've been with her to many funerals.
Okay.
They've been to the oldest two have been to both my grandmother's funerals. So yeah, lots of they've been to lots of funerals. They may not remember them now though because they were little,
Right.
but it's right from
Right.
they have. But it was interesting because like some people I've talked to, like they did not take their kids to funerals at all, and
Yeah.
then like they were kind of older when it was like, oh, now they have to go to a funeral and they don't know what to expect or
Yeah.
whatnot.
And that could just be how things play out too.
Yeah.
Like I not going to go out of my way to take them to a funeral that they they don't have the connection or those kind of things. But yeah.
Yeah,
so
they've all been like
connected
family,
to them.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's interesting. So thinking, and even since June, like thinking lots about grandma and what she's meant to me and my family. And
yeah.
she still was texting up until a couple weeks ago, and she was still on Facebook like a few
Yeah.
days ago apparently, but then she like did something and couldn't get her password to work, and then was like, whatever, I won't need it soon anyway, so whatever.
Shalana says,
So.
I remember how amazing I thought my papa's funeral was when I was in grade 3. Such a neat experience seeing people worshiping God in the midst of that.
Yes.
That is very beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and it is interesting. I do, like, people say it's weird, but I do really love funerals. But the majority of funerals that I've been to have been funerals of people who love Jesus, and the funerals are just so beautiful to hear tributes of people's lives and how they walked with Jesus and how their walk with Jesus impacted their family and other people. And I think it's just so, like, encouraging for us to hear that, and it gives us such a beautiful example of what we can strive for in our own lives, right? Because
And it's like for Cadence and I have had a lot of conversations about Earth being the stepping stone. So like this isn't where it's all at or what it's all about. Like this is stepping stone to heaven. Like that's our main goal. Carly, I wonder if any of you moms would know of any children's book that explains death from a Christian viewpoint.
Ooh.
That's a very good one. I don't off the top of my head.
I'm sure that there is something though. I feel like I've seen something. I'll have to do some research and I'll let you know. And
Yeah.
I love doing that kind of stuff. Someone recently just asked me to help them find a Bible, and I'm like, yes,
Drop everything I need to do right now, and this is our mission for sure.
Yeah, I have looked for Bibles, Christian sex ed books,
Mhm.
all sorts of different things. I love doing that.
Yeah.
So thanks for the next task, Carly.
Mhm. I also find it, I know, so I was just saying, oh, I lead worship this week. And you're like, oh, are you up for that? And it's funny, like, even doing mom talk, like, even though I find this helpful as well as hopefully beneficial to other people, um, it's kind of like that's what grandma loved, that
Yeah.
I was doing things and
Well, and that's what I said
Um,
to
doing our best to use my gifts and that
yeah
kind of thing. So.
when Brian and I were watching the kids jumping, I said, like, I really think that we need to make sure we talk about Thelma tonight, because I said she watched everything Tanya did. And
It's true, because it would be, and I know I have mentioned that, and some of my aunts have been, and my mom, of course, like, I watched too and stuff like that, but I always just remember, like, even the early, so with our church, I would do Tuesdays with Tanya and sing a song or talk about a song or whatever. And I always would joke, well, even if I have one viewer, like, or low viewers, at least my grandma watched it, because she always watches my videos.
yeah,
And she did. She watched and she encouraged, or she would text or comment or whatever. So, yeah, she was definitely a big cheerleader for me and encourager. And so that was good. And I know it's like, you know, those grandmas that make, although I'm pretty special, probably was close to the most special for her. Big joke, but I think she made, like, all of the grandkids feel special and have their thing with grandma.
yeah,
And so it's been interesting seeing my cousins post things and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that they had that connection with grandma or those kind of things. So I think that's pretty cool that she's had a connection with a lot of people. So we were very fortunate that we lived in the same town as grandma and those kind of things. So we got to see her often, but she still loved everyone so, so, so very much. And her deepest desire was that people would know Jesus and that they would be with him and her in heaven one day. So that was her legacy that she definitely wanted. Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool.
Mhm.
We're I mean, it's a little bit of a low ending here, but you know,
It happens.
it happens.
That's
It is-
life.
It's very natural and normal, and
That's life.
we decided, like, yep, we talk about what's going on in our lives, and that's what's going on in your life this week. So
For sure. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Thanks
you.
for being here with us
and
and
hanging out, and
all of that good stuff.
yeah, well, have a great week, guys.
Bye.